She claimed to love her husband deeply, but what unfolded was a shocking betrayal that ended in murder by the one he trusted the most. Have you ever heard of a beautiful city nestled on the banks of the Gomti River, Lucknow, the capital of Uttar Pradesh? In the heart of this city, amidst the calm of ordinary days, a terrifying truth was gradually surfacing. A simple family, a happy life, and a routine existence, until one day, everything changed in ways they never imagined. When emotions spiral into obsession, a person may go to lengths even they can't comprehend. Today's story is woven with motives darker than imagination itself. Hello friends. Hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to discuss the mysterious case of Payal and Himanshu. The incident starts in one of Uttar Pradesh's biggest cities, Lucknow. Near civil lines, in an area known as Bolu Adda on Pranarayan Road, lived a 27-year-old man named Himanshu Sonka with his family. Himanshu used to drive an e-rickshaw to support his household. He was a hard-working, down-to-earth man, making ends meet by ferrying passengers through the streets of Lucknow. The rickshaw wasn't even his own. It belonged to someone else, and he paid a portion of his earnings to the owner. A few years ago, Himanshu married a woman named Payal Sonka. Interestingly, it was a love marriage. Payal was the daughter of Himanshu's aunt, making her his maternal cousin. Naturally, the families were initially against this relationship. Close blood ties made the alliance socially unacceptable. Payal's mother, Rita, lived in Mangalpuri, Delhi, near Rohini Sector 2. Himanshu often visited his aunt's house, where Payal lived. Being close in age, they bonded over time. It was Payal who first fell for Himanshu and eventually confessed her feelings. Around 2017 to 18, she proposed to him, and Himanshu reciprocated. They tried convincing their families, but opposition was fierce. Financial instability was also a concern. Payal's family worried about how she'd live happily with someone barely making a living. Despite objections, Payal had made up her mind. She dropped out of school, didn't even complete her 12th grade. But she was determined to marry Himanshu. He too couldn't imagine a life without her. Eventually, they married in 2018, defying their families. Surprisingly, their parents eventually accepted the marriage, seeing their commitment. Payal moved from Delhi to a new home in Lucknow, which was once her grandmother's house. She had dreams, big ones. Though she gave up studies for marriage, she soon wanted to resume them. Himanshu supported her wholeheartedly. He loved her deeply and wanted her to achieve her goals. She dreamt of becoming an air hostess, soaring in the skies. To fund her training, Himanshu started working overtime. He pushed himself to earn more and paid for her course, even though it meant stretching their already tight finances. Payal enrolled at an institute near Civil Lines Hospital, where she received air hostess training. Sometimes Himanshu dropped her off, sometimes her father-in-law did. Everything seemed to be going well until disaster struck. On the night of January 21, 2025, around 10 p.m., Himanshu suddenly left home with his rickshaw, telling his parents he had an urgent task and would return shortly. That night, he was carrying about 3,500 Indian rupees, money he intended to repay to someone from whom he had borrowed. This person was Ayush Sonka, a distant relative. Ayush worked as a clerk at the Lucknow Municipal Corporation and lived in Keezabah, about 7 to 8 kilometers away. Ayush had been pressing Payal to remind Himanshu about repaying the debt. That night, Himanshu went to return the money, but he never came back. As the night passed, his family grew increasingly worried. They couldn't even call him. His phone had been stolen a week earlier. By morning, January 22nd, the family began contacting relatives, friends, and acquaintances, trying to locate him. Since Himanshu was using a rented e-rickshaw, the owner had GPS tracking on it. The family contacted the owner and found the vehicle was parked near Hanuman Dam, close to the Gomti River. Everyone rushed to the location and found the rickshaw abandoned on the roadside. But there was no sign of Himanshu. Someone suggested checking the CCTV footage from the nearby temple. When they reviewed the footage from around the time Himanshu had left home, they saw him arriving around 10:15 p.m., parking the rickshaw, and walking down the road alone. He then pulled out a mobile phone from his pocket and began speaking on it. After the call, he climbed over the wall and disappeared from the camera's view. He never returned to the e-rickshaw, and after that moment, he completely vanished. One thing in the footage that disturbed his family was, where did Himanshu get the phone from? His previous mobile had been stolen a week ago, and he hadn't bought a new one. If he had, he would have surely informed his parents or shown it to his wife. Why did he keep it a secret? The entire household was devastated, uncertain about where their sole earning member had gone. When it seemed necessary to involve the authorities, Himanshu's father, accompanied by a few others, went to Hazratganj police station on January 23rd. His wife Payal, distraught and tearful, also reached the station and narrated how Himanshu had left home on the night of January 21st and hadn't returned since. Despite searching everywhere and asking everyone they could, there was no clue. They also informed the police about the CCTV footage showing Himanshu climbing the wall and going out of sight. But then something surprising happened. The police stated that since the area he went into falls outside Hazratganj jurisdiction, the family should approach Wazirganj police station. Following this direction, the family proceeded to Wazirganj. Hazratganj police even made a call ahead to inform the officers there. Eventually, a missing report was filed, and due to family pressure, the investigation began. 3 police teams were formed. They checked all nearby CCTV cameras, especially in the direction Himanshu had gone. They also inquired about any enmity or family disputes. One team searched thoroughly in the Hanuman Dam area, with relatives also helping in combing through local forests and asking passers-by if they had seen Himanshu. During this search, police discovered another CCTV footage from near the riverbank close to the Shani temple. It showed that on January 21st around 10:14 p.m., one man walked towards the ghat. A few minutes later, Himanshu followed. Within 7 minutes, the first man came running back alone and climbed the steps towards the road, but Himanshu never came back. This raised serious suspicions. The unidentified man tried hiding his face from the camera, which made his actions even more suspicious. Police showed this footage to Himanshu's family. His sister immediately recognized the clothes the man was wearing. They matched those worn by Ayush, a distant relative, at a wedding function in Dalaganj, which Himanshu's sister also attended. Even Himanshu's maternal uncle recognized Ayush from his gait and posture. He told the police that if Ayush were caught, everything would come to light. At the same time, doubts began to rise about Himanshu's wife, Payal. Though she was crying and seemed devastated, the family still had a strange feeling. On the night of January 23rd, after days without any food, a relative brought meals from home. When everyone was too distressed to eat, Payal took a large portion and began eating without hesitation. This behavior made Himanshu's father suspicious. He questioned how she could eat peacefully when her husband was missing, while the rest of the family couldn't even think about food. He also noticed she was constantly on her phone, either chatting or making calls. Who was she communicating with during such a tense time? Others noticed it too. Eventually, when the father asked for her phone, she resisted and argued, claiming she was being wrongfully doubted. Meanwhile, the police visited the house again. The father handed over Payal's phone to them, which they thoroughly examined. The next day, on January 24th, police called Himanshu's brother and asked him to bring Payal to the station for some questioning. At that point, no one imagined Payal was behind Himanshu's disappearance. Once at the station, after brief questioning, police revealed the shocking news. Himanshu had been murdered, and Payal was involved. Everyone was stunned. His body was discovered in the river. Divers were deployed, and around 4 p.m. on January 24th, his corpse was recovered. Upon seeing the body, his father collapsed. Payal was interrogated further. It was revealed that Himanshu and Payal had married against their family's wishes. Payal had insisted on marrying him because she was in love. She didn't care about his job or income, whether he drove a rickshaw or how much he earned. She just wanted to be with him. Eventually, the families accepted the relationship. Their married life started smoothly. But over time, when the family started expecting grandchildren, Payal wasn't ready. She refused, saying it wasn't the right time and she didn't want to ruin her figure. She used to often say she didn't want to ruin her figure. Himanshu, deeply in love and fully trusting his wife, agreed with everything she said. He always tried to fulfill her every desire. A couple of years after their marriage, Payal started getting more comfortable at her in-laws' place. She began stepping out more often, visiting her friends, attending college. She was pursuing graduation. Over time, her lifestyle began to change. She adopted a more high-end, stylish way of living, wore expensive clothes, did makeup, and stopped participating in household chores. Himanshu's mother ended up handling all the housework, cooking, cleaning, dishes, everything. Meanwhile, Payal either studied or stayed glued to her phone. Himanshu worked hard every morning, heading out with his rickshaw early to earn money to support her education and dreams. But Payal began spending way more than he could earn. Despite not having a job herself, she was constantly shopping, buying clothes and other items. Whenever Himanshu asked about the source of her money, she dodged the questions. He trusted her blindly, so he believed whatever she said. Payal had a friend named Tonu, who lived in Kizabah. Payal would often go to visit her. Tonu's brother, Ayush Sonkar, who was also distantly related to Payal, worked in LMC and made good money through unofficial earnings. Whenever Payal visited, Ayush would treat her with expensive food and gifts, which pleased her. Despite knowing she was married and technically his sister-in-law, Ayush fell for Payal at first sight and tried to win her over with his wealth. Gradually, Payal was swayed by his financial generosity. Ayush even covered the cost of her graduation and air hostess training. While Himanshu slogged all day to make ends meet, Payal was lavishly spending both his and Ayush's money. To her family, she lied, saying she was going to the market or to her training, when she was actually meeting Ayush. Eventually, Himanshu began suspecting her due to her excessive spending. Around 2022, he learned about the affair. He confronted Payal, who apologized, promised to cut ties with Ayush, and Himanshu forgave her. However, she broke his trust and continued the relationship in secret. Media reports say that between 2022 and 2025, Ayush spent nearly 12 Indian rupees lakh on Payal's education, lifestyle, and hobbies. Himanshu thought everything was back to normal and even borrowed money from Ayush, repaying him in small installments, unaware that Ayush was still involved with his wife. On the 21st of January, 2025, Payal complained to Himanshu that Ayush kept calling her, asking for his money back. She gave Himanshu 3,500 Indian rupees and told him to repay Ayush to avoid further trouble. Unbeknownst to him, this was part of a trap. Payal had probably taken the same money from Ayush and passed it on to Himanshu. She also gave him a different phone to use for contacting Ayush, to hide any communication trail. Using the new phone, Himanshu called Ayush, who directed him to a location near Hanuman Dam. When Himanshu arrived, Ayush, accompanied by his cousin Jackie, led him towards the Gomti River, saying they should light a lamp there. When Himanshu bent to place the lamp, Ayush pushed him into the deep river and fled with Jackie. It was a dark and silent night. Himanshu didn't know how to swim, something Payal had already told Ayush. Later, Himanshu's father filed a complaint naming Payal, Ayush, Jackie, and other relatives. By 25 to 26 January, the police arrested Ayush and Jackie based on Payal's statements. Ayush had pressured Payal to marry him, but she hesitated due to her marriage with Himanshu. Rather than seeking a divorce, she and Ayush decided to remove Himanshu permanently. They had already attempted to harm him twice earlier. Once, Ayush bought an illegal weapon and planned a contract killing, but cancelled fearing exposure. Another time, Payal tried to drug Himanshu's food, but that plan failed too. Eventually, Payal recalled that Himanshu couldn't swim and plotted the river plan. She assumed it would look like a suicide due to financial stress, especially with no injuries on the body. The post-mortem report initially supported this. However, Payal's suspicious behavior and later confession exposed the truth. Himanshu's family also staged protests demanding justice. Phone records revealed Payal stayed in constant contact with Ayush even after the incident. She even warned him to run when CCTV footage showed his presence. Jackie also tried to delete that footage, but temple staff informed the police. All three, Payal, Ayush, and Jackie, were arrested. What began as a love marriage eventually turned into a tragedy driven by greed. If Payal had openly confessed she no longer wished to be with Himanshu, perhaps the whole situation could have been avoided. What are your thoughts on this shocking case? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life crime stories.